When 17-year-old Kelly Ann Bates met James Patterson Smith, her family thought she'd simply found an older boyfriend. She was bright, full of life, and deeply loved. But within a few short years, that relationship would spiral into one of the most shocking and disturbing cases the United Kingdom has ever seen. At first glance, this looks like a tragic domestic killing. But when detectives uncovered what had actually happened inside the home that Kelly shared with Smith, even seasoned officers were left horrified. The brutality they discovered was almost beyond comprehension. This is the story of Kelly Ann Bates, a teenage girl who endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of a man who manipulated, isolated, and ultimately destroyed her. A case so shocking that pathologists, jurors, and even judges struggled to find words strong enough to describe it. Kelly Ann. Kelly Ann Bates was born on the 18th of May 1978 in Hattersley, Greater Manchester. She was an ordinary northern girl, kind, fun-loving, and a little shy. Friends described her as loyal and caring, the kind of person who always wanted to see the best in everyone. At 14, she was still just a child, living at home with her parents, Margaret and Tommy Bates, and attending school like any other teenager. She loved swimming, socializing, and spending time with her family. But in 1993, her life took a sudden, dangerous turn, one that would lead her down a path from which she would never return. The man who called himself Dave. In 1993, Kelly met a man named Dave Smith, or at least that's what he called himself. He was polite, well-spoken, and claimed to be in his mid-30s. But Dave was lying about almost everything. His real name was James Patterson Smith, and he was 48 years old, more than 3 decades older than Kelly. He had a history of violence towards women, something Kelly couldn't have known. Smith had already been accused of abusing multiple partners before Kelly, including one woman who said he nearly drowned her in a bathtub, and another who said he tried to gouge out her eyes. Smith was a predator, and Kelly, just a child, became his next target. Manipulation and control. Smith was highly skilled at manipulation. He groomed Kelly carefully, gradually isolating her from her family and friends. He showered her with compliments and gifts, building trust before introducing control and fear. When her parents first met him, they immediately felt something was off. Margaret Bates later described him as creepy and controlling. She begged Kelly to end the relationship, but Kelly was deeply manipulated, convinced that Smith was her soulmate and that her family just didn't understand. In 1995, just before her 17th birthday, Kelly moved in with Smith at his home on Furnivall Road in Gorton, Manchester. From that moment on, her contact with the outside world began to vanish. The disappearance. At first, Kelly kept in touch with her family through letters and phone calls, but soon those messages became infrequent, and then they stopped altogether. When her mother called the house, Smith would make excuses, saying Kelly was busy, asleep, or didn't want to talk right now. For months, Margaret and Tommy grew increasingly worried. They even went to Smith's home once, only for him to refuse to let them see Kelly. It was as if she had disappeared completely. What no one knew was that behind that front door, Kelly Ann was being systematically tortured. The discovery. On the 16th of April, 1996, James Smith walked into the Gorton police station. Calmly, he told officers that his girlfriend had accidentally drowned in the bath. Officers followed him back to his home, expecting perhaps a tragic accident scene. Instead, what they found would haunt them for the rest of their lives. Kelly Ann Bates was dead. Her body was found in the bathtub, but it was immediately clear that this was no accident. She had been brutally tortured over a period of weeks, possibly even months. The post-mortem report would later detail over 150 separate injuries. Officers, hardened by years on the job, were physically sick at the sight. One detective reportedly had to leave the room. What happened to Kelly Ann? The full extent of Kelly's suffering is almost unspeakable. She had been beaten, burned, starved, stabbed, and mutilated. Her hands, ears, and nose had severe injuries. She had multiple fractures, stab wounds, and burns from scalding water and household items. Perhaps most chillingly, the injuries indicated that she had been kept alive for most of the torture. Police and medical experts concluded that Smith had tortured Kelly as a form of control, to break her down psychologically and physically until she could no longer resist. It wasn't rage, it was cruelty. Calculated, prolonged cruelty. The trial. In November of 1997, James Patterson Smith went on trial at Manchester Crown Court. He was 49 years old and showed little emotion throughout the proceedings. Prosecutors presented the full extent of Kelly's torture. They described the injuries in clinical detail, but even professionals struggled to comprehend what they were hearing. Several jurors were visibly shaken, with one even fainting. Smith denied murder, claiming Kelly had hurt herself and that she enjoyed rough games. His defense fell apart under evidence of overwhelming violence. The jury took just 1 hour to find him guilty of murder. Smith was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 20 years. He has never shown any remorse for what he did. Aftermath and legacy. Kelly Ann's family were devastated. Her mother, Margaret, became an outspoken advocate for domestic abuse awareness. She's since said that she wants Kelly's story to serve as a warning to other young people, that love should never hurt, that control is not affection, and that silence can be deadly. The case became one of the most shocking examples of domestic abuse and grooming in modern British history. Experts still use it in training programs for police and social workers to this day. Even now, decades later, the question lingers: how did no one see it coming? How could such horror happen, hidden in plain sight? The girl who never stopped trying to please. Kelly Ann Bates was only 17 years old, a kind-hearted girl who wanted to be loved, manipulated by a man old enough to be her grandfather. Her death isn't just a crime, it's a brutal reminder of how dangerous control and isolation can be. And while James Patterson Smith will likely die behind bars, the scars of what he did remain, not only in the memories of those who loved Kelly, but in the very fabric of British true crime history. Kelly's story is painful, but it matters, because in telling it, Perhaps someone else might recognize the warning signs and get out before it's too late.